Hello, everybody. Welcome or welcome in. Has anyone noticed that this is like the new trend for how people are welcomed into a restaurant these days? You're not just welcome, but you're welcomed in. How kind. Anyways, if one could be welcomed into a podcast, welcome in. So now that you've learned something, let's move on to our absolute legend of a guest today, Penn State's women's soccer coach, Erica Dambach, or as I know her, Walshy, which is also, for whatever my mouth is doing, much easier to say. If you ever have a day to kill, you can read her tremendously detailed bio on the Penn State women's soccer website, which describes Walshy as basically the second coming. And honestly, she is. Let's give that woman the credit she deserves. If Penn State's website is up to date, she's a 2-time National Coach of the Year and 5-time Big Ten Coach of the Year. She's led her teams to 17 consecutive NCAA tournaments, 11 Big Ten regular season titles, 5 Big Ten tournaments titles, and I'm out of breath, and the 2015 NCAA National Championship. In 21 years as a head coach and 17 seasons leading the Nittany Lions, she's accumulated 314 career wins with a .708 winning percentage, one of the most dominant marks in all of college athletics. She builds and leads wildly successful collegiate teams, but also wildly successful individuals. We have Herman Trophy winners, All-Americans, and national team players all around her. And speaking of, she herself is also no stranger to the U.S. women's national team, including being a top assistant coach when we won gold at the Olympics in 2008 and when we lost painfully to Japan in the 2011 World Cup final. I'm sure it wasn't her fault. She exists at the highest level, transcending sports, while she defines excellence to me and greatness. And as I mentioned in the interview, I use those words very intentionally. She takes sport and makes it a calling. She takes perfection and throws it in the trash in favor of greatness. Be fully you, be messy, be human, use that as fuel to be great. And like the best coaches, just being in her presence, you want to be the best version of yourself before she even opens her mouth. And she is a mom to 2 young girls. I met Walshy when I was an undergrad assistant coach at Harvard on the soccer team after I now proudly, somewhat shamefully, took a little extra time to graduate, but had no more eligibility to play. Walshy brought such fantastic energy and attitude and professionalism to the program. My Harvard tenure was a bit of a dark time for me personally, but Walshy brought me a sense of joy and purpose and connection. She has this amazing ability as a leader to marry vulnerability and strength. And this was happening before Brené Brown made vulnerability cool. As Walshy shares in the interview, while coaching is in so many ways her calling, what she ultimately wanted more than anything in life from her earliest memories was to be a mom, which I just want to say is not something that you regularly hear a coach, a woman in sports, be courageous enough to share. And that's just so Walshy. The definition of courage, not the absence of fear, but acting in spite of fear. She's not just taking up space. She's redefining space. She's bringing in a whole other dimension. Walshy, thank you for taking time out of your jam-packed days to talk to us. I consider my brief coaching tenure with you one of the most important gifts of my college experience and maybe of my life. Thank you for being you and being you on some of the biggest stages in sports. We are all so much better for it. So everyone, please enjoy Walshy. I mean, Erica Dambach.
Yeah.
And I really wasn't like weirdly stalking you.
I wanted to be you when I grew up. I knew it. I knew it.
So funny.
But yeah, so V raised anything that's good about Logan, I always say, is because of V.
I love that.
Yes.
Yeah.
My Addie's nanny was just the most terrific person I've ever met.
Yeah.
She's just a
Do you
boss.
keep in touch or not?
Well, it's super funny. So I had one of my best friends ended up having a child, had frozen her eggs and never met anybody. So decided at like 43, she was just going to do it. Right.
Yes.
And
That's
she
amazing.
lives in New York and my nanny was moving to New York and she literally was moving like around the block. And my friend just kept calling me like, I just don't know if it's the right person. I was like, stop talking. Like,
Shut
I
up.
am telling you, I've just put this person into your life who will take care of you and your son. And you
Yes.
need to just stop talking and thinking.
Yes.
And like, we laugh about it all the time because she just kept calling. I just don't know. I don't know if I was like, she is the right person.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
She was not only my nanny, but then like one of my best friends from college she moved to New York and was hers.
That's
Yes.
so cool. I love
These
that.
Best thing that
folks,
ever
they
happened to
carry
us.
our lives.
Well,
I
I
always
find a
tell
good
V, and
one.
we get emotional about it. And maybe you feel this way. Like, I was only able to maintain myself, let alone our kids, because of V. Like, it just.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. I want to talk to you about so many things, but do you feel? Can you hear us?
Uh-huh.
Can you hear? Okay.
Can you hear
Do
me
feel,
okay?
You have a very legit
sound great.
background. Are
Yeah,
you in
you
the
look cool.
sports area? Are you a coach?
It's actually.
What do you do?
Are you like a wildly successful
screen.
college coach?
It's a screen. Yeah.
It's the Walshy background. I like it.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so we have some questions, but we also will follow the flow. But the gist, because I'm sure you've done extensive due diligence, but the point of this is
You've
did
seen
check
all
out
of
the
our
Instagram.
podcasts. That's
Check out
right.
the Instagram. It made me giggle.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
we were just starting this, but it was really built on this idea, and you might identify with this too. I'm not like a lovey, squishy, soft mommy type. And so I left.
Damn it.
I was at
Sorry.
Google for forever. No worries.
Okay.
Left and then was sort of in more of this mother role. And I was like looking around and being like, these people are fucking killing it.
Yeah.
And no one gives a shit about them. Like, no one's acknowledging that whether they're working on top of mothering or whatever.
Make that stop. Sorry.
God damn it, Erica.
Make
This
that
is
stop.
obviously not going to work.
I mean,
No, never mind.
I can't do this podcast. I'm not capable. Settings.
We need
Stop it.
the do not disturb
Do
situation.
not disturb on what?
Yeah, on the upper. Are you on a Mac?
Yeah.
But just like this, mothers are doing everything all the time. And then I suddenly was realizing they're mothers of all flavors. They're also mothers that are out there doing professionally insane, incredible shit. And they're also the mother to these children, which inherently carries a whole level of responsibility and emotions and all sorts of stuff. And I was like, we just never seem to connect those dots.
Yeah.
And occasionally we do. I think about Serena Williams when she retired and she had that amazing Vogue spread. And it was like, she was actually talking about this idea of like, well, like actually Tom Brady doesn't have to have kids. I want to have kids, so I'm going to retire. But there was always, occasionally we would integrate these identities. And that was always fascinating to me and also really interesting to people that I know. So then I was just thinking there should be more discussion about this because we're kind of not pretending, but like the media is just talking about, when it talks about mothers, it's really about parenting and the kids, or it's about how frankly awful it is, or it's about hacking corporate America, or it's a comedy show. And I was like, actually, I'm just curious about how being a mother as a sense of identity and a sense of self shows up for these mothers out in the world. I'm not really interested. I mean, love kids theoretically, I think, but I'm interested in you.
Different podcast.
Kids are fine.
I'm interested in you and how you evolved over time when kids entered the scene and how that influenced and empowered and also probably confused yourself and made you a better coach and a different coach and a different Erica. And that's the stuff that like we're trying to get at.
Awesome.
And I think people are like relieved to hear because I think there's otherwise this like keep that stuff over here and then all this over here. And it's like maybe it just needs to spill over and then maybe we can build a better world that's more supportive of all these women mothers that are doing all this stuff.
Do you remember when Kate used to practice like with Keegan?
Very much. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. For our listeners, Kate Markgraf, or for as I knew her, Kate Sobrero, Kate Markgraf, but she had twins when she and I were at Harvard together. You learned how to coach from me, I think, basically. I was a super senior coach on the sidelines.
That's how it went. Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, Kate was just being a normal human with kids running around. And I obviously didn't know what that meant. Maybe that meant obviously more to you as a slightly older person than me at the time. But yeah, it didn't occur to me that you could have all of these things and do all this stuff at once. But One thing that I would love, you have the longest bio I've ever seen on the internet. I don't know if you know this. Do you add to
A
it every year?
Wikipedia
I
page.
We add
I am
a couple
a
more
professor of
paragraphs.
nonsense is what I am. Yeah.
So, and I have read it, and I think I knew most of it. One of my favorite elements was just how specific they were about your start date at Penn State. Did you know that it was like a Thursday in
It's
Just kidding.
7:43 a.m.
Yeah.
No, but it was a massive blizzard. Massive. And I was coming from Harvard, and the highways were shut down. So that day actually
Wow.
does stand out in my brain because I had to find a place to sleep.
Because they had to walk there.
Anyway,
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I guess what I was hoping to know was we love having people kind of walk through their version of their story and kind of thinking back of like how we get to the Walshy of today. And as they go through that, thinking about like, how does any of this make sense? Is there a through line? Your resume actually does seem like it builds intentionally.
Really?
But I'm sure as you were going through it, it still wouldn't. But I was just curious if you could like reflect back on your journey and we can go from there.
Well, it's interesting to talk through my journey while at the same time thinking about this podcast and thinking about kind of some of the ideas that you were talking about, because as I reflect on my journey, so much of my journey, although nobody's journey is linear, and you look at all the steps along the way and all the crossroads, and you can't believe some of the decisions that you made along the way, but so much of what guided me all along was my desire from a young age to be a mom. And to be married and have a family. I come from a wonderful family, wonderfully supportive parents and siblings. And I always wanted that. And so when I was fortunate enough, I became the head coach at Dartmouth at 23 years old. Because we had a female head coach who, after giving birth to her second child, decided to step away from coaching.
Oh, wow. I didn't.
And that's how I became a head coach at such a young age. I was the youngest Division I head coach in history at that point, because a female athletic director at Dartmouth came to me and said, "Hey, we want you to be our head coach." And I literally turned around wondering who was standing behind me. I was like, yeah, you should be the next head coach. And there was nobody standing there. And I thought, what in the world are you talking about? Like, I am so not ready for this. And she said, yes, but you will be. And I'm here to help you. And she just had such a vision. And she just, Josie Harper was her name. And unfortunately, we lost her to cancer last year. But Josie saw way more in me than I saw in myself. You know, I had 2 years of coaching experience at that point. So fast forward 2 years from then, and I actually decided to I was 5 years into my coaching career, 3 years as a head coach, and I decided to step away from coaching because I lived in Hanover, New Hampshire, and I loved Dartmouth, and I loved everything about the community, and I loved coaching. But I thought, wow, this is so remote. All of my friends are starting to get married, and they're moving on with their lives. And I always thought that I would be in biochemistry somewhere, and I'm just coaching. I'm just a coach. And to me, I didn't even know what I didn't even know. And I stepped away from coaching because I felt like I needed that. My location was the reason why I continued to be single, not with my personality.
It couldn't be me. I'm so hot.
And everything. Like, I just couldn't believe I was single, you know? So I stepped away from coaching and moved back to Pennsylvania, and kind of where my family was, and spent 2 years getting my MBA and trying to figure out what the next steps were. And then from there, dabbled with a couple assistant roles and started to work a little bit with our U.S. women's national team and the youth teams, and then jumped right back into it. After getting out of it for 2 years, I realized it wasn't the profession that was causing some of my different emotional challenges it was more me and the decisions that I was making with my life. And I was very career driven. I mean, those players laugh at me that they say that I slept in the office, and that I remember Mary McVeigh put a tent out in front of my office one night just to make a point of like, you're always here. You're always here. And,
really funny.
And then, so I went from Lehigh, where I got my MBA, to Florida State, where I was an assistant to Harvard, where I became the head coach. And then a year later, Penn State called, and Penn State is home for me. My family are Penn State grads. So when they called, unfortunately, I decided to leave Seji and that world up
okay.
there.
I had to leave too. I've only stayed for
She immediately left,
only 5 years.
But, even I think back to 2007, I didn't get married until I was 40 years old. And all of that time, just some of my personal struggles during that time of, will I ever see this out, and the opportunity to have a family. My career success I was flying at that point, but my personal happiness was at an all-time low in some of those years.
Well, thank you for sharing that part with us. It's interesting because I think part of this is funny saying this to my head coach. You're always my head coach. But I think some of your vulnerability is what makes you so powerful and like compelling to players. And that I've always admired you for you have this commitment to excellence, which you were the first person in my life that you didn't say this out loud, but I just sensed it, where you were like, excellence isn't perfection. Like there's a difference. Excellence, it's let's be well-rounded. Let's be ourselves. Let's be effective. Let's have fun. Like let's be human and also win. And I think I was just curious how that, I think becoming a mother can be an incredibly humanizing experience. It can be humbling and confusing. But how did, this long-awaited dream of becoming a mother, you have this wild, objectively successful career as a coach. What was the transition like from being coach 24/7 to coach and mother, probably 24/7 also? Like, what did that do?
I was really scared entering motherhood because I had all of my success in my mind had come out of just working harder than the person next to me. Like philosophically, I just had to outwork the next person. All of our recruiting success, I always attributed to just outworking and giving more attention to and writing more handwritten notes. And that commitment to excellence was just me. I almost minimized the reason why we were so successful was that we had a lot of intellectual property. I had wonderful people around me. I surrounded myself with just absolute rock stars, and just kind of dialed that all back and just said, oh, we just outwork everybody. Well, that wasn't the secret sauce. That wasn't the magic to it all. It was that I had incredible people I was surrounded with. And, it has, I would say, in those first couple of years when, so my daughters, Addie and Kylie, are 8 and 6 years old. And in their first couple of years, I struggled mightily with how to spend my time, where to spend my time. And that any time spent here was time taken away from here and time lost, rather than merging the two, gaining from both, and integrating the two of them. Fortunately, I met my husband is just a wonderful Jason. I know Seji has a Jason.
We're married
too.
To the same Jason.
He's a wonderful Jason.
Sister wives.
And
same children.
He's like all in on this thing, right? And so my daughters are part of my team. My team is part of my family. And fortunately, I have a profession where I can just integrate it all. And my daughters would way rather spend time with my players than they would with me. And that nothing brings me more joy to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was actually curious about the integrating, because I have seen that that's something that you're doing. And you said just now, like, I'm lucky that I'm in a profession where you can just integrate them. On the outside, it actually doesn't necessarily look like that would be so easy.
It doesn't seem so easy.
Oh yeah, let me just bring my kids around, and like while I'm running around physically leading these other people, like now you're just, instead of corralling 1 to 2 kids, now you're corralling 25 kids and a coaching staff. So I'm curious, like, tell me more. Like, what? Wait, what? It couldn't have been so easy.
Sounds
when did it become easy?
How do you do that?
Yeah. Well, I think particularly in high achieving environments, right? Division I, highest level college athletics, we are chasing national championships. I am all over them all the time, of chasing excellence and chasing greatness. And this, having my daughters around, allows me to come here and for our athletes to come here and for us to kind of meet on this common ground of literally physically, I'm down on my knees playing with my 3-year-old. It humanizes me. They see me just when I'm a mess with them, and I have, they've caked me with Play-Doh, and it just brings this element. And honestly, when I started to realize the smiles and the joy that it brought to the students' face, I realized I can't give them myself. I don't give them any of that. Like there's a total absence of that, but the joy that the kids bring them, and it's the fact I laugh out loud every day at these kids, right? Like Kylie makes me laugh every day out loud. I've had actually friends say to me, like, God, I'll go days without belly laughing. And I'm like, I don't even go hours without belly laughing. Like, that is one of my greatest gifts that my kids give me and all kids give us, that just the stuff that comes out of their mouth. And I would just watch our players, watch my kids, and I'm going, this is gold. And then I watch my kids watch the players and go, it is just so seamless in the way that it just helps everyone. I have a wonderful staff who embraces it. So whereas in the early days, there was a lot of apologizing, maybe if not verbalizing it, but in my mind, I thought, oh God, I'm just so sorry that you're having to deal with da-da-da.
Yeah.
And then as I stepped back and I kind of watched it, I was like, it is enriching their experience so much. And when I say they, I mean both sides as well as and I started to think less about my time was an absence, but they're having experiences that no kids, there's nothing I could do personally that would give them this type of experience that they're gaining being around 25 of the most impressive humans that you'll ever meet.
Well, and also credit to you for that. Feels very like the world says 1 + 1 = 2 and it should always equal 2. And you're like, well, actually I'm seeing 1 + 1 = 3 or 5.
Yeah.
But not everyone, I think even as you said, like at first this, like there are these trade-offs of things, but you kind of have to redo the math of how to build a full life. I imagine especially, was it in the back of your mind, or kind of the origin story of your career was a woman having kids and stepping away? Was that something that you've thought about along this journey until I've asked you this question? Or was that something that was not a cautionary tale?
Well, first off, I do need to put it out there. Like my husband was a stay-at-home dad for 7 years. So without him and what he did, and he is the kind of person that doesn't see it as sacrifice.
Yeah.
He has finally just started his own business. He has his own business now, which was always his dream, but he made this work and I'm so thankful for it. But do I have absolutely. I think all moms have moments of like, okay, I'm spending all of my time raising your children. I need to step back and raise my own. And then I quickly recalculate in my brain or sleep on it and go, okay, I'm right where I need to be. And my kids value this so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, that thought crosses your mind all the time. And I think the older they get, the more they need you and the more you feel like you need to be around, and it just tugs at you even more.
Yeah. You talked a little bit about how at first your instinct was to sort of apologize for the inconvenience of these kids showing up. Was there also within the broader coaching community or athletics world, how was it received that you were suddenly also a mother? Or was it something that you didn't lead with or bring forward that often in the early days or even now?
Oh no, I shout it now.
Yeah.
I mean, I shout it now for the same reason that you all are doing this, because I think that first off, one of the reasons why I wasn't sure if it would ever happen is because I didn't see anybody doing it at the highest level, right? Of the highest level of college athletics that you could balance both, right? And so I was like, well, it's probably just not possible, right? So I wanted to make it really clear. It is messy and ugly, but that's motherhood. And that is every job and every profession. And anybody that you look at that you think's got all of it together, they just don't. And who wants that anyway? Like life is messy and it's all right. So I am very outspoken about it. I am very outspoken about it. I'm outspoken about mental health. I'm outspoken about going and seeing people because I've got to get my brain back in order because there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
But fortunately, I work for an athletic director who's got young kids, who wants kids around, and he's always made me feel, all of my athletic directors have always made me feel like, yes, bring your family, make them part of it. They've been wonderful. And I wouldn't be here if they didn't.
Yeah.
That's really important, to be in an environment where they embrace it. And if you're able to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like that's lucky to be able to be surrounded by that. Cause I think also in a predominantly like male field, like, right, that high level coaching is like, you don't see many women. And then on top of that, you're also like, oh, and can I bring my kids, by the way?
Yeah.
And they're like, are you full in on this or no? Like like we can do it, right? You've shown that you could do it. And that's amazing that they are also celebrating that and seeing the opportunity in this mutually beneficial relationship that everyone can have from this and everyone can gain. Yeah.
For sure. My immediate boss, Brandy, is a single mom of a 7-year-old boy, and
amazing.
Parker's a rock star. And anyway, we've got this just wonderful picture and memory of our Elite Eight trip last year to Clemson, and they gave us permission to bring our families down, and because we're going to be on the road, and we've been on the road a ton, and Addie and Kylie, so we have 6, 7, and 8-year-olds, and they have a row in the back of the plane, and they are sitting like prince and princesses. Like they are just stewardess. They're hitting the button, and they run the place, and it's
amazing.
Just like gold, right? That's gold, and it's the stuff that when your kids come home and they have written up their essay, that's what they're writing about.
Yes,
the plane trip they took to South Carolina with all their big sisters.
Yeah. So when you're doing something for the first time, arguably, like you're creating the role model, what informed how you decided to, and it probably wasn't like a singular moment of deciding, but what was the role model to you of how to mother in this, both, intimately just within your family, but also like in this context? Like, how did you kind of pull together what felt good to you and seemed effective for your kids and worked within the broader context?
I would say I bumbled that pretty good along the way. I just did. I just did. After the birth of my first child, I took 7 days before I ran a 300-person overnight camp. Like I just was so off with my priorities. And that was coming from a woman. I was 41 years old when I had my first. So I did have, I was very fortunate because we had security and financial means and some things that too often, mothers aren't fortunate enough to have these things. So all these other stresses are on top of the fact that you're not sleeping and you're trying to raise these little humans. So I did have some life perspective and life experience at that point. And again, a very supportive husband. So I had, plus my parents lived in our town. I kind of had it all in terms of that village. I just hadn't figured out how to lean on them.
Because it's hard.
And that has been a growth process, and I still stink at it.
It's hard.
But it is like just that realization of like, you just don't get any of these days back, and you just don't. And that hits me sideways over and over and over again. And that has caused me to be more and more present, and to like, when I'm home, I'm completely off my phone and I'm trying to do all the things that I think you should be doing as a parent when you're present, that they're noticing. And especially at 8 years old, she notices and understands everything. So to answer your question of how I've navigated it, it's been an absolute mess, and I've dealt with it. But you have to kind of look yourself in the mirror and feel your moral compass and just admit when you've messed up with it. And then try to do better.
I feel like when you were talking about it's so finite, it goes by so quickly. I feel like in your eyes, I could sense there's the emotion about that with your kids. I also feel like you have that deep love for your players. Like that goes by so quickly. Like I can't fully understand because I've never done it, but like I could attempt to empathize with, this isn't just clocking into a job that pays the bills. You're also raising other daughters on the field and off the field, and you have your own. Like that's a whole other level of
emotional commitment.
So it's amazing that you're doing it, and clearly, and able to see it as such a positive on all sides. I really felt like well, I'm curious it's interesting that you mentioned you were back coaching a week later, because there are all these examples now, or maybe not a ton, but there was this Tennessee women's basketball coach who came back a week after having her first kid or a kid and was coaching right off the bat. I'm curious if you could like just talk about like that sort of role modeling, or that, is this a good thing? People are making the best choices in the situation that they can, but it's especially in this world of athletics, both as players and coaches. And it interests me a little bit that that pressure seems to be there on the coaching side as much as on the player side, of this kind of like really get back quick.
There's no time
and there really isn't space. And I think everyone in different fields feels some sense of urgency, but I feel like within sports, that urgency to get back, it feels like there's no grace period. And I often thought, as a proud member of the ACL club, like, this is on the athlete side, like, people have injuries and they're gone for, for 6-9 months or longer.
Mm-hmm.
Having a kid is sort of a planned ACL. It has all sorts of other implications, but like, it's a known time away. I'm just curious how you've thought about, or what examples you've seen in sports of people stepping away to have a kid and then coming back around, and how they think about balancing that, and when and how to come back.
I think the decision to come back as early as I did was in a period in my life where I wasn't sure how I was going to navigate any of this. And I actually look back at it, and at the time I thought this was like a badge of honor. Like, look at me.
Yeah.
I can do this. Physically, I can do this. We still laugh. The doctor that I had that helped give birth to Addie, she was the wife of a coach. So she kind of knew. And there was a point at which I was going to have to go into a C-section. We were 24 hours into the birthing process. And she grabbed me and she looked me in the eyes and said, "You are not going to be at your preseason if you don't get this baby out of you right now."
Mm-hmm. That was the motivation you needed.
And Jason said my head spun around and that baby came out like a minute later. 24 hours and 1 minute later, that baby came out. But for me, it was like recognizing that the world doesn't stop, recognizing that I have very capable people, and recognizing that the players are going to be fine. Like, get over yourself. You can take this time. Yeah. And I was a little bit better with it with Kylie. But I think, to your point, especially in sport, and I can't speak of any other profession, but we're in a job where, to me, none of this pressure came from Penn State. None of it came from the players. None of it came from, in fact, I was getting pressured the other way of just stay home. My staff was like, "We don't want to see you." And I'm like, I have 300 campers showing up tomorrow that have paid to be evaluated by the head coach. That is my responsibility to be there. Yeah. They will understand. Well, of course they will understand. But I feel that responsibility.
I don't want them to have to understand.
I don't want them to have to. I don't, so I think so much of it is what we put on ourselves. And again, it is just this idea of changing the narrative. And first of all, you hire good people to be good, let them be good. And we've all seen those moments that we're on the other side of things where somebody has stepped away and you just see that person rise, and that moment for them to come into their own, and then you join back in, they've got more abilities at that point, and then you rise together. And for me, I look back on those times and I was kind of squashing that for the people all around me, because that was their opportunity to step in and really rise. And that's what time has given me, that perspective.
Yeah. Impressive. And again, it just takes so much wisdom to be able to and to be willing to do this. And I know that, I'm sure you have stories of players that have gone on and had kids. I'm sure it's making a difference for them. And they're trying to find ways, whether it's in sports or otherwise, but like continue a life that's full on all sides. Are there things that you've seen that make it easier? Like we can say within sports, but I'm curious if there are examples, like as there's more and more investment and more resources within, let's just even put it to women's soccer professionally and in the collegiate level, like, are there programs or offerings or philosophies, like what's allowing for women to find ways to have kids while continuing their professional existence as an athlete? Because we're seeing more examples, but it's certainly not easy.
Well, I think one of the best programs that I've seen come about was in the NWSL. And the NWSL started to partner with fertility clinics, right? Because one of the things about, I'll never forget, my associate head coach was my college roommate at William & Mary. And so it's my best friend. And, again, that's all part of this. One of our other close friends was living in New York City. We're living in small town Pennsylvania, State College, PA, right? A little country nice. And we're about 35 years old, and we go and we visit our friend in New York. And we're sitting around, we're having a couple drinks, and we're chit-chatting. And she just casually throws out this, I froze my eggs when I was like 28 years old, and I was like, what? What are you talking
Mhm.
about?
Are we supposed
I
to do that?
literally had no idea what you were talking about. Like, that concept had never once been thrown out to
Yeah.
me, and I had been going through some mental health challenges, just dealing with the
Mhm.
fact that I was 35 years old. I, was single, and there was no end in sight to how
Yeah.
single I was.
Mhm.
And just the education of it, and
Mhm.
the ease of which her in New York, she was able to do that, versus for us in a small town, just the undertaking of even the idea of, and I actually think that would have saved me so much mental anguish in my late 20s, my early 30s, if somebody had kind of talked to me through that I had gotten the opportunity. And that's what the NWSL is doing, partnering with these fertility clinics,
Yeah.
with their teams, is now they're providing these young women the opportunity to go and freeze their eggs and prolong their career if they decide,
Mm,
without that feeling of my clock is ticking.
Right.
mm,
And they're making it easier, never easy,
Mhm.
right? But just to really understand that there are options and there are ways that, if
mm.
for whatever reason you are delaying, that process, there are ways to help you along. So,
Wow.
that education alone, I just don't think that's talked about. It's
Yeah.
funny. Some of my players, they'll graduate and we'll go, I'll go see them on the road and we'll get talking. They're like 23, 24, and I'll bring this up and they're like, "Coach, why are you talking to me about freezing my eggs?" And
I
I
don't
was
know.
like,
I'm just
I
throwing
don't
it out.
know. You're right. That's kind of weird. I'm gonna back
No,
off, but
I
I
think it's
just wish somebody had
awesome.
talked to me about it. I
Yes.
Yeah,
wish
because
that it
it's
had.
so empowering to hear that, like, oh, that's an option. You get to choose that instead of a like, you have to do this or you have to do this in order to have an option later. It's so empowering to say like
It's
that's something you
so
could do to choose that.
empowering. I mean,
Yes.
I was so again, my first was born at 41 and the second at 43. And if I would have had $1 for every time I was told I had geriatric eggs,
Mhm.
why,
Jesus. Yeah.
why is that a term?
Mhm.
We
Yeah.
Yeah.
couldn't do any better than geriatric eggs.
I know.
So you're ancient. So when you
They
So
give
still
birth,
haven't changed it yet, I think.
yeah,
no.
Yeah.
It's like
and just
30
again, just the
something.
anxiety that comes with that. I mean, what do you
Mhm.
mean that you're not having kids till that? So there's just all these
Mhm.
social pressures of it all. But I think that just even those conversations, I mean, we could just be so much more outspoken about all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is
Almost
interesting
in the way
too.
that like mental health became
Right.
more of like that
Absolutely.
education.
Yes. Yes. Within the big tech world, it was a trend for Google and Apple and all these places to start offering, like, heavily covering, if not entirely covering, the freezing process. And
So
it's which is
interesting.
interesting. They should have been doing that for athletes far earlier.
It
um,
is.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So good for, yes, that's great. Good for you. Um, I'm sure it works. I'm sure it'll make a difference.
Yes.
You do have such a wonderful foundation village where you are. So many things would have to change in order to like think about shifting that in any way. But I'm always curious if there are ways that having kids on the scene now it shifted your either priorities or shifted your career decisions, or are there things that you said in a way that might sort of feel like a sacrifice but might also be like in service of something that you care more about? um has having kids changed how you have approached or made decisions in your career?
I mean, 1,000%, 1,000%. For example, I've spent a lot of time. I kind of have a second job that I work with the U.S. Women's National Team, and I've
Yeah.
stepped away from some of those responsibilities. For many, many years on the recruiting trail, it was me and whichever assistant was coming with me. They'd kind of work on and off.
Mm-hmm.
Now I turn a lot of that over to the assistants. It's me trusting my people, hire good people, and
Mm-hmm.
use them and trust them. Um, Obviously, in theory, that's obvious, but then in reality, when the wins and losses ultimately come back on your record,
Yeah.
it's a little bit scarier. And a downturn in your recruiting leads to a downturn in one particular year, which then it's cyclical, right? And then because you had a little bit of a lesser year, then the next set of recruits, maybe you're not as
Yeah.
appealing to them. So
Yeah.
um, I would just say that I have learned to trust the people around me
Mm-hmm.
more. I feel like I've always trusted them at the same level, but I've empowered them more. And just trying to be home. People joked I could never say no Never said no to an opportunity. Will you come and speak to our group? Sure. I've got to drive 3
Will
hours.
you come on
You're
a
not gonna see
podcast?
me. And there's going to be 7 people in the room. Great. I'd be happy to do that. And my best friend and associate head coach, he was like, everything that you get offered needs to come through me now. I need to okay these things because I'm tired of watching you run around like a fool just because somebody asks you to do something. And she was right.
I love that. Yeah. Not that you were a fool, but you could trust the people around you.
And all right.
Lean on that support. It's so important to surround yourself with people like that. And that, like, in the same way of bringing your kids, involving them in what you do every day, like, we're not meant to do it on our own. None of this we're meant to do on our own. So, like, how incredible to be lucky enough to be surrounded by people that you get to do parenthood with and, like, learn how to be the best coach and the best human. And I don't know, I think that's so awesome.
And we talk about this on the podcast frequently, and you even mentioned it, Walshy, even if you have all the resources and the support in the village, knowing how to, like, essentially ask for help or let other people help is so not a natural instinct, especially for especially, who knows, but it feels like that's especially true for these, like, highly ambitious, highly motivated, high achieving people that I would put you very much like as the leader of that camp. So, like, how did you learn to ask for help or let people help, or have we?
I'm not very good at it.
I'm
not very good at it. / when I'm home, I want to be with them. So for example, during COVID, we ended up selling our house. My parents sold their house and we ended up moving in together. My parents are just nearing 80, which is wonderful. And they're still very capable and they're getting opportunity to spend, it's given them 10 years on their life. But even in that, I am reluctant to ask for too much help because you don't want to take advantage of people.
Right.
Right. And I think one of the things that I've learned to do is when somebody offers, take it.
They want to do that.
Particularly when somebody offers. Like, it's one thing when you've got to reach out and impose on somebody's time. But when somebody's like, hey, do you want me to? Yes, I do. You don't even have to finish that.
Matter of fact.
And I joke with my friends all the time because I'm like, listen, this is who I am. I will offer you, and it's genuine, and I would be happy to. We have a lake house. If you want to use our lake house, go use it. Like, that is all genuine. I don't throw things out in rhetorical fashion. And I make that really clear to people. Like, I even joke when they say, oh, I can take Addie to Hershey Park. I'm like, I am going to call you and ask you to take Addie to Hershey Park. Don't say that. And I joke about it, but I 1000% take people up on the opportunities when they offer. I'm not very good at asking people to do things when they haven't offered, because their time is their time and everybody's busy. But at the same time, when I have, they've always come back. Oh, we had a great time with so-and-so and just got an opportunity to spend time with Kylie that we don't ever get. So I think the biggest shift in parenting for me has just been to lean on my village, especially when my village is willing to help to take advantage of those opportunities, because it is okay for you to have 3 hours with your friends on a Thursday night because another mom has offered to take your daughter. That's okay.
Yeah. Some other folks have mentioned the impact of their own parents and kind of course, influencing so many things about how we are, whether to do those or to not do those things. But within the context of how to show up as a mother, that can be particularly true and deep. I'm curious whether it's related to asking for help or taking help or doing things independently or otherwise, how your parents, who I know you're so close with, how have they, and the fact they're still so present, how was that role modeling to you? And was that related to why you were always so eager to have kids?
Well, yeah, for sure. They've just been wonderfully supportive of me through my whole life. They've been my everything. And I always wanted to have that type of relationship with my kids and always wanted to have that in my life. One of the interesting dynamics of your parents moving in with you is that they lose the ability, in my mind, I haven't quite shifted their mindset yet, of like, oh, go get a treat from grandma. Like, that's not a thing anymore, and we have those battles daily. Like, you can't walk downstairs and get a popsicle if we're in a no popsicle time, you know?
Yeah,
of like,
yeah.
You know, and it's funny because Jason's mom comes into town and, like, she gets all of the grandparent stuff, you know, of just, like, they're so excited to see her, and they're, you know, but, like, my parents don't get that anymore because they live with us. So, you know, there are some dynamics in there that shift around, but, like, I don't have many rules, but you know, I think if they're under your roof, they kind of got to live by those same ideas, right? Because we just would find out, I just didn't know, like our 6-year-old was sneaking downstairs every night and getting a fudge pop from my dad. And like whether or not we had already had dessert or not,
I love that.
absolutely care less. And the kid's a genius and she's manipulative and she can do all those things, right? And I just didn't know.
Yeah.
And, and finally one night I snuck down to get a fudge pop. I wonder where she got it from, and there were no fudge pops.
Yeah.
And, they're like, "Well, your daughter."
The Costco size 24-pack of fudge pops.
And they were gone because little Kylie had been sneaking down every night.
It's amazing.
But yeah, to answer your question, I mean, certainly my mom and my dad and their support modeled everything that I wanted to be for my kids.
Amazing. One question, then we'll shift into some sort of short answer things to close it out. But one thing that has swirled around the idea of motherhood is this also idea of whether one can have it all and women having it all, and particularly mothers having it all. Do you think about having it all or aspiring to have it all, or how would you define it all?
I think that the way that I would define that almost changes daily in terms of where you are in your life, what's going on in your life, the relationships that you have at that time. And because time is finite, the way that you spend your time on a daily basis, obviously, especially in coaching, one of the coolest things about coaching is that every day is so different. So one of the things I'm struggling with right now is just hours. I need more hours in my day, right? And so for me, having it all would be the ability to have all the time I want with this group and then all the time I want with this group. And so the answer to me is no, you could never have it all because there's just time is finite, right? With that being said, I am at a point in my life where my family has good health, and relative happiness, right? And I feel so complete in where we are right now. I also know that tomorrow is a different day, and that can be very different. And so one of the things my mom says to me a lot, which I've grown to really appreciate, is like, you enjoy your kids so much more than we enjoyed you guys. And part of it is being a 40-year-old mom, you know, and we laugh at our kids more. We have less stress in stress being your basic needs in life. Not my job has a lot of stress in it, right? But I will always be able to put food on the table. And so my stress is not at the level of paycheck to paycheck, which to me is so much more stress than what I experience. And she's right. Like I am down on my hands and knees every night playing with these kids, because I literally thank God that I was able to find Jason at 40, because at that point in my life, I had not frozen my eggs, as we had already discussed. And that dream was really quickly slipping away from me of having the family that I envisioned to have. Obviously, there are other options, but I haven't gone there yet in my mind. So today, in this moment in time, I am so incredibly fulfilled. I don't have it all. I would like to have many, many, many more hours. This week, for example, my team, we train at 6:15 in the morning every morning. I've not been home with my kids any morning this week. I've not been home any night. I spoke to a group last night. I broke to the group. We had practice Monday night. So I'm not getting those hours that I need with them. So although on paper it's all there, I can't access it.
Right? Actually, on that note, this is going on in my world too, myself, but also my husband, like just the endlessness. It's all amazing. It's all good. Like it's all stuff that we love, doing things that brings us energy, but also it's depleting and the cup is empty. Have you found the magic way to fill your cup?
Help.
Tell me now. Is it caffeine?
What do I do?
Dunkin' Donuts, iced coffee. That's actually, I mean, coffee is truly where I go too. But
truly,
too much of it, I get jittery. But yeah, there is no perfect way. But I'm curious how you try.
I mean, definitely exercise. And I use that term very loosely. I mean, very loosely. Like, but
getting out of bed, getting back into bed.
1,000%.
That's my exercise.
But if I am without a 20-minute walk in a day, I am losing myself, and I am like physically, I'm gaining weight when I'm not, right. And so I know that that's my formula, and I know that if I've gone a month without being regular with that I need to really check myself, because there's something off in my life at that point. So I do have something that resets me. Like I take a really good look kind of at each month of like, wow, I've lost myself. I need to bring things back, because I know for myself, if I don't take 20 minutes to even walk in the woods or around our buildings, I'm not being true to myself at all.
Yeah. I'm glad you found that. It never feels like enough, but I read something about putting your feet up for 5 minutes. Somehow a reset.
We also have started at the beginning of each practice. We start every practice with a moment of gratitude. And I can't believe how much that has actually helped me in my day.
Yes.
And you don't
they're onto something.
Oh my gosh. Every moment, everybody talks about that, like have gratitude in your life. But we like before every training session with our team, and our team has grown to love it too, of like just the deep breaths in, just close your eyes, just the moment of gratitude. What are you grateful for in that morning? And because we've made it such a habit within our team, we obviously get to do it every morning too. And I'm like, wow, that's really given me different perspective in my life.
Oh, I love that. I'm so good. That's amazing. Good for you. That really will change the world. Because that does. These are also kids who are caught up in so much shit about just being 18 to 20.
Totally.
And online and everywhere. Like, thank you. That's great for all of us.
So important.
I would encourage people to do that.
Okay. Some short answer questions. You can talk as long as you want, but theoretically you could be a short answer.
One word. Quick.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. We got things to do. Okay. If you could go back and tell your new mom self one thing, what would it be?
Slow down. Just slow down. And especially in those early years, just enjoy it for you. Like just enjoy it for you. Obviously your 0 to 1 year old has no idea what's going on, but enjoy it for you more.
Yeah. And then if you could provide yourself or your family one thing along this journey of motherhood that would have made the process a little bit easier, is there one thing that comes to mind?
I mean, it's not supposed to be easy, right? Like I guess there is easier, but nothing that comes to mind in terms of would have made it easier. But I do think leaning on those people around me more in those early years would have helped a ton.
I love what you said. It's not supposed to be easy. That's something we talk about on this podcast too, of the idea, even the idea of having it all. Like maybe we shouldn't have all these things. Like maybe it's supposed to be difficult. Maybe sacrifices are part of existing and having a life and making decisions, and that the hardness, I mean, so cliche, but it's the hard that makes it great.
It is cliche, but it's all like they're real. They're cliches for a reason.
Yes. Thank you for saying that.
Maybe there will also always be something that will make it hard. What even is easy, right? Like there always is something. And if there isn't, then we'll make it so. So
yeah. All right. Final question. No pressure. Your kids may be listening, probably not, but one day maybe they will. Is there anything you'd like to say to them?
Oh, you can't do that to me. You can't do that to me. That'll make me choke up.
Yeah.
Just how proud I am.
Yeah.
All right, I'm done.
You're the best. Walshy, I fucking love you. You're wonderful. I told you when I was like, I think Walshy's going to join. I'm not sure. And I was like, and then you said you were, and I was like,
to my emails.
I was like, I think I might cry when she gets on the call. Yeah. You mean so much to me, and you mean so much to everyone that's ever been in your presence. Without you have a thing Was it
Just by
Josie that I saw this in you before when you were 23 and had basically never coached before? Like, yes, you really, you're special. And I'm so glad that you found your way into a profession that's meaningful to you and also lets you like share that with so many people.
Well, I appreciate you guys, and this is awesome. Keep spreading the world because we need to hear this. I needed to hear this when I was. I still do. I still need to listen. So I will be on the podcast.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for talking
You're the
with
best.
us.
There we are.
Yeah. Okay. How are you feeling?
I don't know. I'm having
Emotionally
like
drained.
Reflection. I don't know. There's everything that she is and everything that she says that is, there's so much there that I want to talk about. That's more important than this. In the moment, I'm feeling it's just bringing me back to like a past life that was my full whole life, and a whole way of thinking that was so entirely all consuming. Like was my entire mindset. Like what she said about this idea of like outworking everyone. That's like how I'm successful. I'm just going to work harder. I'm going to do the extra thing. Is so ingrained in me and really is a sports mindset of that's how we win.
Yep.
And it is, I don't know. It's interesting having like kind of grown out of being an athlete. Oh yeah. I was just thinking I've outgrown I've not outgrown, but like I've now existed in other worlds beyond sports and kind of thinking about how that mindset is effective and useful. And I've also been around other mindsets that are like, don't work harder, work smarter. And I think what's different, obviously, about sports is like there really is a physical fitness component. And so like, the more you work out to a point, even that has to a point, but the more physically fit that you are, the stronger you are, the better you are as a player. So there is, whereas in this sort of brain work, if that's what working at Google or any of these other, like a desk jobby type of thing, the working more, there's much more of and even in there, it's not always a singular mindset at all, but there's definitely more of a push, like working 24 hours a day doesn't necessarily make you more effective. Like, don't be beholden to your inbox. Like you don't get promoted for like responding to every email. Like, it's just interesting to like I just haven't like sat in that ecosystem of sports in so long. And so it's just interesting to like be brought back to that where it is so it's almost militaristic, like in a way that I didn't realize at the time, where there's your general, thankfully, if you're lucky, Walshy. And then you have the players and then also, but within that, trying to make it a team and a family and a sisterhood. And I don't know, it actually made me think how, no wonder I was confused trying to do that in corporate America, because that's not how it works.
Uh-oh. Wait, can I have a redo? Let me start that over now that I have this insight.
Yeah.
Also, something like, I mean, I think I'm just reiterating what you're saying, but this kind of like tangible, like you could see the physical manifestation and success of the work that you're putting into it when you're doing that, right? Versus when you're in corporate or like more traditional workspaces, how it's like you said, the emails, you don't get a prize for responding to an email at 11 p.m. or whatever. Yeah.
And also how much I think about this in my experience within a corporate world, but like for Erica, there's just so much heart. Like you can just see it all over her face. Like, she just loves, and how to be able to merge effective leadership and expectations of excellence and high standards with love and loving and being generous. That's a magical combination, and not many people can swing both ways or swing at the same time, both things. So and for me, no wonder she was so compelling as a leader. I never got to play for her. We coached my super senior year at Harvard. She came in as the head coach. And so I kind of coached next to her, which in some ways was maybe more, I would have learned so much as a player, but I think was maybe differently educational for me as a person to be able to see her in that way. But yeah, I also love that I don't know. I love that. I feel like I hear this message a lot with people. It's often targeted at women who are doing things for the first time and pioneering in some way. And the guidance is like, do it out loud, like lean into it and share it and make sure everyone sees it. And that's wonderful and lovely, but also like hard, and takes a level of bravery and vulnerability
Courage
to do that and do that effective. Courage. Yes.
Confidence too, of like,
confidence. Yes.
this is what I'm doing.
Yes.
Okay.
So when she was like, yeah, when I realized I'm going to be a mother and no one else, like no one's doing this, like I shout about it all the time. And how confident in your skill set, or courageous in your, and like sure of who you are, like that's so hard. And they make it, what's of course the hard part is like they make it look so easy when
I know,
it.
exactly.
That
Which
doesn't
is
mean
like,
it
I don't
is.
know, whatever. Like, and but I'm like, but you did do it, and you did it so seemingly like gracefully and well. Like,
Yes. And I was so grateful that she talked about dealing with life, or figuring life out after her first kid, and how she was like, I really just bungled that repeatedly. And in a way that was still sad to her. And I wish she didn't have to be so hard on herself. And I think she maybe isn't, but I think, there's just so much integrity in everything that she does. And so much meaning. I don't know what that's like. Trying to call the great meeting and everything. So what else? I wrote down. I mean, there's everything she said is gold. And she talked about that too. Like the ability to look at something. Like this is what I also love about her, is she can see, she's so creative and optimistic, and can see, if you have those combinations, you can see the possibility in what someone else looks at as a sacrifice, or something that wasn't, I wish it was the way it had always been. And this idea of, it had always been that I didn't have kids at practice and I was successful, and that's how it should always continue to be. Now I bring my kids to practice, and one might think, oh, now we're getting distracted. There's chaos, like people aren't focused. But actually she's like, I saw gold. I saw how the players looked at my kids. I saw how the kids looked at the players. Like, this is magic. But people don't, not everyone has that
ability to see things through that lens. Or like, and have the vision to see the possibility.
The vision. Yes. The vision. So so powerful. And I
feel like she said so.
You go.
I feel like she said so many things that even you needed to hear in particular today. And I'm really happy that like we got to listen and learn from her. Like the taking up space and being, what's the word? Mom brain. Starts with an I. We spoke about it this morning. Being an inconvenience.
Inconvenience.
And how you're actually not an inconvenient. Like, I'm like, even that alone, it's just so true. Like, we all feel that in our everyday of just like, can I take up this space? Do I deserve to take up this space? Should I take this role? Like, is someone better fit for this because they don't have other distractions or things? Like, and it's like, no, go do that thing. Like, you deserve that. And I love that. Yeah.
That was true. Yes. When she said, especially early on, where she was like, I'm so sorry my kids are here, which goes back to like what Sai said in our first interview, where she was like, this woman on the street basically was like, never apologize for raising the next generation. I was
like, we were all kids at one time. It's like, why are we so apologetic for this? Like, that was you.
Like, being an inconvenience. We're all just doing it's totally true. Until they learn that it's not an inconvenience. It's actually, we're making it convenient for them. Life. Yes. Yeah. I think the other thing that she said that I love so much, and to any future guests, I hope you continue to like reject the question, but when I asked about what would make it easier, what would have made it easier along the way, and she was like, actually, and she thought about it for a while,
to the point where I was like, oh, we lost connection. I was like, uh-oh. And I love that.
She was
really
like,
did
no.
think genuinely.
Oh, for sure. Of course. Yeah. And she was like, it's actually, I don't think it's supposed to be easy. I think it's supposed to be hard. And that's, again, goes back to this like sports mindset too. But I think is really important. And in this, we've talked about this maybe early days in the podcast too, or even before, like planning discussions where it's like this idea, maybe everything isn't supposed to be easy, but we're in this world where it's like, identify points of friction and create a tech solution so that you never have to deal with that again. And how much human connection and reality and resilience or anything have we lost because everything is so easy?
I also think that, so I have like an interesting, or not, I have an interesting perspective.
I'm sure
on
you
that.
do. I'm sure you do.
No, well, it's not even that of like, I don't even know putting the label like what would make it easier or this is easy or not easy. Like, what if it just is what it is? Like, we are labeling it. I think I kind of said this when she said that. Like, I don't know. There always is going to be something. If you have a lot of money, maybe you're suffering in your friendships and connections. If you don't have connection, like there's always going to be something, and we label it certain thing. Oh, this is difficult, or this is scary, or this is hard, or whatever. But like, yeah, maybe it just is. And kind of, an extension of the conversation we had this morning of like, sometimes just things are what they are.
Right.
And like, yes, maybe one thing would have helped in one way to make something easier, but that doesn't mean that it wouldn't, you wouldn't have difficulties or challenges or obstacles elsewhere.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, Walshy leads with her heart on her sleeve, and truly
How
is
cool.
so successful. Like, it was amazing. Her bio on Penn State's website is like a love story to her, as it should be.
Yeah.
And I joked, of course, my computer like logged out of everything the second I tried to pull it up. So I was like, damn it. But what I was going to say was on it says Penn State University appointed Erica Dambach as the third head women's coach in Nittany Lion program history on Thursday, February 8th, 2007, setting in motion one of the greatest coaching tenures in Penn State history. And I was like, the fact that they say Thursday,
we remember
with so much reverence.
School. Yeah.
Yes. And I mean, and for all good reason, like, she is one of, if not the greatest of all time at this in the world that she exists in. And deserves all of it as much as she will share the credit with everybody. But she's just the kind of leader that I want. I'm so happy when she has success. Like, it's,
her players are so lucky to have her, and her kids are so lucky to have her as a mom. Like, I feel like what a cool woman to learn from.
Absolutely.
She was so great.
Yeah. And shout out to her, Jason, for being home with the kids.
I love that.
Absolutely.
Yes. For 7 years.
And I feel like that's another thing to talk about. Like, so glad that she talked about her husband's role in all of this.
Yes.
Nanny role in all of this. Grandparents' role in it. But yeah.
Non-traditional, like she was setting the tone for, like, it's not common for the dad to stay at home. It's not common for a woman to be a lead coach in sports. Like, all these things she's doing for the first time. And so well.
Yeah. So well. One of one. Anyway,
if you live in Pennsylvania, go see their games.
Go to Happy Valley, baby. Yeah. I mean, all her players are on like the national team. Like, it's just, she's incredible. Successful programs, successful individuals. Like, it's a dream. Okay. I love the little baby coos. Quick shout out to Joy, as my brain is like floating in so many places.
Yes.
Let's bring ourselves back to where our joyfulness is this week.
Buffering. It's so interesting. I think both of us have had in different ways like a little more exhausting or challenging weeks. And so sometimes it is a little harder. You have to dig a little deper to find those.
I know.
Joyful
what also can be like silly joy. I mean, I think even what Erica said was like, I don't go an hour without like a deep belly laugh. Like, I do think those little things, I think I want to, find the belly laughs a little bit more, and also get it settled back into a normal routine.
Sarah loves a routine.
I love structure.
As does your son.
I need my sleep schedule, and I need to eat the same food at every meal.
I love you.
It's my fault.
I love you. Okay, I think I might have my joy.
Yeah, there we go.
But as with always, I do think it's actually more for... No, it's not a good one. No. I realize every week that like, I'm like, oh, my joy is totally tied to like my actions or serving other people.
Yeah.
So I want to think of something that...
I know.
For me.
You're in such a giving...
A me joy phase.
I mean, you're always such a generous giver. But I feel like you're also, I want to find a way to come take your kid from you for a little bit.
And sleep train him?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Need to send you on a
We'll get there.
vacation and for like 3 to 4 nights and then
The way
come
that
back.
I would never do that to anybody. I'd be like, I'm so sorry. Listen, I'm down for help, but
Yes. Yes.
No, where's my joy? Where's my joy?
Weather?
It's not
Go out
that
on
nice.
some walks.
Hey, can you cut this?
It's
also?
not
Can you
frigid.
cut
Yes,
this?
exactly.
Oh, I know a joy. A little joy is that I found a little farm like 7 minutes down the street, and I've been enjoying going there for our local produce and food because it makes me feel better as a person for like supporting local businesses, but also the food is great and very affordable. And so that has been awesome. And then I signed up my son and I for a farm class, and we went to it, and I did not have an allergic reaction to the horses, even though I'm allergic. So that was great. That's my joy.
Good.
It was very fun.
Oh, that is good.
Yeah.
I
So
love also
that.
like a tactile experience with plants and animals and your kids there and like mostly entertained.
Very cute horses, and I got to put him in a playpen with bunnies.
Oh.
And hay.
Dream.
And I was like, is he going to eat
photo
the hay?
session?
And then I was like, I don't really
care. Yeah.
That's my joy. That was a great thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I want the pics. Did we get pictures or no?
Yeah, I will send you them. No.
Perfect.
We got a lot of pics.
Look at us. We're troopers. See, sometimes you got to dig, but you can find joy. It's there.
My joy is.
It's there. It's hidden in the hay.
If you're struggling to find it. Aw. If you're struggling to find your joy today, that's okay too.
I agree.
Yeah.
You know why we couldn't find our joy, V?
Why?
Because we didn't have a Fresca. We didn't crack open a Fresca to have this conversation.
Heck?
No wonder it felt a little bit flat. You know what I mean?
I would have been
we
little
need those
inspired.
Bubbles.
We really do. After this episode, I will be cracking a Fresca.
And I have to say, I've gone back and forth a little bit. I did have a moment where I'm loyal, I think, to Fresca. And then sugar-free ginger ale was introduced to me.
Nah.
And I kind of enjoyed it for like, it had like a solid 2 to 3 weeks for me. And then now there's something about the brand that feels like, I think I will always associate ginger ale with illness a little bit.
100%.
Like it will always kind of be like, and are there saltines?
My tummy hurts? Yes. 100%.
Fresca, joyful. If anything, the association is like, how can we make this a cocktail? And summer. Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe
so
that is our
Fresca, maybe we're back.
We are so back, baby.
We'll reconsider your offer. Oh God. You have a baby.
Yeah, and he
Crazy.
just bonked his head. So
oh my God.
He said, I do not have joyfulness.
Thank you so much for joining us. Please remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss an episode and we can reach even more rock stars like you. The Mothers is a production of Backline Media, shining a light on those who carry the team.